founder and CEO, and really pleased to welcome all of you and the Governor and the Commissioner for an exciting announcement. We are a nonprofit lender focused on the intersection of poverty and climate and environmental justice. And as part of our mission, we provide loans to lower-income families to put solar panels on the roof, to invest in energy efficiency. And in this time of climate change and rising gas prices and geopolitical instability, we believe it's more important than ever to encourage what's called electrification, part of which is enabling electric vehicles to be more accessible to working families. And that's the reason why we decided to install the electric vehicle charging station that's behind me, because we need more stations like this in working communities so that it's accessible for the families that we serve and for the broader public. We also will be installing solar panels on our roof because we want to walk the walk and talk the talk. This station is available 24/7 to anybody either driving through, this is right off I-95, or folks in the community. And it's extraordinarily easy to use. And before I introduce the Governor, I actually would like to have my employee Kevin, who has this lovely Nissan Leaf, demonstrate the ease with which you can plug in. So, Kevin?
Always got to use a phone to start everything these days. Wait till it contacts. Don't trip over the cord.
And there you go.
Maybe just, oh no.
And an electric car is 3 to 5 times cheaper per mile to use. So, with that, it's my pleasure to introduce the Governor of Rhode Island.
Great. Thank you. Well, thank you, Andy, and thank you, the Capital Good Fund. I think everybody can agree that that was a nice, easy step with the station, and the Capital Good Fund reality, it really is a leading example. First, with this charging station, and also with solar aspirations. You are helping to make electric vehicle charging more accessible in your neighborhood, and I thank you for that. I want to recognize Commissioner Ucci, as well as Director Albidi, who's back there, Director, and Director Gray as well. When I signed the Act on Climate last spring, I committed to supporting Rhode Island's transition to clean and affordable energy. This is part of our commitment. More access to electric vehicles, means less greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere, and that is a key driver of climate change and pollution-induced health impacts, especially in our frontline communities. I'm proud to announce here today that Rhode Island residents and businesses will soon have access to electric vehicle rebates that will help meet their transportation needs and do so in a more sustainable way. We expect this rebate program will open this summer after a public review and comment process. Commissioner Ucci, who is leading this effort, will speak more about this in just a moment. Additionally, my budget proposes $23 million in federal funds to expand our network of electric vehicle charging stations. This will make sure we can offer more convenient and accessible charging locations. When combined, these investments will encourage more Rhode Islanders to choose electric vehicles and support our state's progress toward a net zero emissions by 2050. I want to once again thank Andy for doing his part in supporting our goals, and now with that, I'd like to turn it over to our State Energy Commissioner, Nicholas Ucci. Nick?
Well, thank you, Governor, for that introduction, and thank you for your climate leadership. I also want to acknowledge Andy and the Capital Good Fund for their efforts to support electric vehicle charging in the community, as well as my state colleagues who are here today. Governor, since you signed the Act on Climate last year, our team has been working to advance important greenhouse gas emission reduction strategies across our electric, heating, and transportation sectors. We've been collaborating across the administration through the EC4 with energy and environmental stakeholders, lawmakers, and with engaged citizens to explore the needs of our community as we develop vitally important pathways toward a net zero emissions economy by 2050. Today, I'm proud to announce that the Office of Energy Resources is committing $1.25 million to provide electric vehicle rebates to local residents, small businesses, nonprofits, and public sector entities. The program, called DRIVEEV, will support the purchase or lease of new and used electric vehicles that will help reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the transportation sector. When launched, qualified Rhode Islanders may be eligible for up to $2,500 for a new or leased battery or fuel cell electric vehicle, and rebates up to $1,500 will be available for used EVs. Incentives for plug-in hybrid vehicles will also be made available at reduced amounts. Further, we are mindful that many of our neighbors wish to participate in the fight against climate change, but find some investments just out of reach. Therefore, we are proposing to provide additional incentives, up to $2,000 for income-qualified Rhode Islanders. But it's not just individuals who will be eligible to participate. Our fleet incentive structure will support EV adoption by Rhode Island small businesses, nonprofits, and public sector entities. We are planning to provide additional incentives to those entities and municipalities with the highest asthma rates here in Rhode Island. Now, the incentives I've just described are still subject to change. As Vice Chair of the EC4, I am excited to present our program design to the Council at our next meeting, now scheduled for April 7th. At that time, we will begin accepting public feedback on the program and taking those comments into consideration before finalizing and opening the DRIVEEV program this summer. Importantly, no general revenue will be used to support this initiative. Programs and investments like this one are vital to Rhode Island's fight against climate change, and they are critical to addressing climate-induced public health challenges, such as asthma, in our communities, especially frontline neighborhoods that often bear a disproportionate share of these burdens. These commitments are also vital to our economy, creating new and vibrant opportunities for investment and job creation across the green economy. We have a lot more work to do, but I'm confident that Rhode Island, as it has always done, will answer the call. In closing, I want to thank the OER team in attendance today for their efforts. Raise your hands. And I want to especially acknowledge my staff lead on clean transportation issues, Sarah Canavaro, who's done some great work getting us to this point. Thank you all for coming out today, and I think we can take some questions.
Sir, Mr. Ucci, my name is Pat Ford, Coalition Radio Network. I happen to personally, I drive an electric gas hybrid, a 2016 Ford Fusion. Gets over 40 miles per gallon in a full-size car. I belong to ChargePoint, and I use them somewhat frequently. The question is, a entry-level equipped Nissan Leaf stickers at about $27,500. Take off $3,000 or $4,000 in your generous rebates, add sales tax, and you're looking at an average car payment of about $500 and change a month. On top of that, I'm assuming these charging stations, as there are in most cases, are not going to be free. Who in the working class community, in this neighborhood, for example, is in a position to a $500 to $600 a month car payment? And isn't this really geared towards what some would say greenwashing?
No, I really strongly disagree. As I mentioned, we intend to provide additional incentives for income-qualified Rhode Islanders, nonprofits that are serving the community. We previously had an electric vehicle rebate program funded at much fewer dollars. That was an incredible success. So we know there is demand out there in the community.
Well, there's demand in the community, but it's demand largely from upper middle class and above. Isn't this really virtue signaling? I mean, what kind of car payment do you assume that most people in this neighborhood can afford?
We acknowledge that $1.25 million are not going to solve climate change problems in Rhode Island. And that's why the governor has tasked the EC4 to create an environmental justice committee, which will help advise our state agencies and the community on finding new and innovative strategies to help address climate change in our frontline community.
Final question. Why not just lower the gas tax and make it easier right now for every Rhode Islander rather than this sort of
Pat,
cosmetic approach?
Focus on this program. We can take some sidebar questions. Is there any other question related to this announcement?
Do you know about how much the rebate will be? Is there an estimate?
Sure. As I said, for new purchases or leases, the rebates will be up to $2,500. We have tiers involved. for a plug-in hybrid, for example, which is still important and a great way to reduce carbon emissions, there'll be a reduced incentive, $1,500.
Slightly off topic, but just knowing how high gas prices are right now, why should Rhode Islanders maybe that haven't considered getting an electric car maybe think about it?
Sure, I think we heard some testimony from our host about the reduced cost of transportation utilizing electric vehicles. And it's also a great way to support and help your neighbors, right? I mean, we know that a significant amount of our portion comes from the transportation sectors, especially in urban dense communities like where we're at today. And so adopting an electric vehicle not just might help reduce your transportation costs, but also help public health challenges.
Hi, I'm Mr. Ucci, Mary Cerez. Has there been any thought to giving rebates for electric bicycles?
Not at this point, but that's a great idea, and I'm sure that's something we'll take back and talk about with the EC Corps. Thank you.
Will there be any rebates for infrastructure at the home? I mean, if I have an electric car, I'm going to need a charging port in my house, and I assume that costs money to install.
Sure. Well, many electric vehicles can utilize have a plug-in, utilizing the home outlet. As the governor mentioned, he's proposed a $23 million investment to expand our EV charging network across the state. We know that the federal government has a priority along interstate corridors, but we believe we have some flexibility beyond that to invest in charging infrastructure across the community. So there'll be more details to come on that.
And ChargePoint is the company we're going with?
No. There are other companies who also build and install electric vehicle charging stations. We're not in the business of selecting one over the other. That's a decision best left to the entity installing the station.
And you said April 7th was the public input time frame. Do you know about when people could start, like an estimate of when people could start applying for the rebate?
Sure. We have the program largely written as we envision it, but we know that we don't have all the answers, and so we really wanted to take the time to go to the community and solicit some feedback. We anticipate that the public comment period will be about 30 or 45 days, and we are committed to opening this program this summer.
Any other questions? Brittany?
Rhode Island, do you know just as a population how many people drive electric cars in the state versus other areas? Is the rebate program trying to boost that?
Yes, absolutely trying to boost that. I'll ask my staff if we have that number handy. If not, I can get it to you.
And then you said these rebates are based on income. Some of these rebates for homeowners or for working people. What are the thresholds for that?
Sure. What we're thinking of proposing is qualification if you participate in a state or federal income qualified program. We're also looking at potentially having self-attested income levels. We know that many who participate in programs like that, for a lot of variety of reasons, don't want to provide that information, and so we're looking at other ways in which we can connect the community to the benefits of this program.
And then this one may be for the governor. Where's this $23 million coming from? Is this ARPA money or is this from the general fund?
It's federal money, but it's not from the opera, I believe.
Right.
Yes, it's infrastructure dollars that are designated towards this type of use.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you all so much for coming.
Thank you.
We're going to see if we can get a couple more questions in here. We're at a fine organization. The Capital Good Fund has done wonderful work in the city. This is not to begrudge them, but
Steve, I thought you raised your hand, no?
Streams. We receive federal dollars. We receive Reggie administrative dollars, for example. So we're going to utilize our budget constructively to draw the funds from that.
Okay. And do you have any estimate for how many EV cars that this could support?
Sure. Well, the $575,000 program we previously had did over 250 cars. So
okay, so that was the pilot program, which was, what were the years in that?
A couple of years ago. A couple of years ago. And so, we anticipate, we're hoping over 600 EVs.
I'm live right now.
And this is just a start. So we anticipate after getting some experience and seeing how the program design unfolds, to potentially committing additional dollars down the line, or working with lawmakers to identify funding sources.
Okay. Okay. Well, 1.25 is still sort of a drop in the bucket, right? I mean,
Absolutely,
it's just,
absolutely. But that's partially by design as well. We want to be able to make this announcement, get this program out as quickly as we could, and be able to make that commitment. So that's where we're at today. But we know that we have a lot more work to do.
So you think that there could be more funding coming through in later years?
We anticipate, yes, that we'll obviously we'll need an infusion of capital to sustain that program beyond 2 or 3, 5 years and beyond. We know that we have climate change goals we have to meet too. 2030, 2040, and net zero by 2050. So, all the models show that you largely have to decarbonize the small vehicle fleet in order to achieve our carbon reduction goals. So this is just a start, but it's on the right track.
So do you think that this is starting to fill the gap that we saw TCI fall through? Is this sort of filling the gap that would have been there with TCI?
Yeah, I think, the TCI looks to be at minimum on pause for now. And so that gave us additional impetus to go ahead and get this program launched as quickly as we could to try and fill the gap that we've had. And frankly, we've had that gap for a long while. And it's important that we begin to move and reduce emissions in the sector.
That's great. Thanks. I got a couple other questions. I'll ask you after.
Sure.
Okay, you talked about individuals, nonprofits,
Small businesses,
and
public sector entities.
public sector entities, like
Right.
for instance, like for a city or town to
Exactly.
replace
School district.
its fleet.
Right, we're going to have some limitations on that because the funding is limited. So what we will be proposing is that those entities could qualify
Yeah.
for rebates for up to 5 vehicles
What, the public sectors?
for
All
the
of these,
entities
up-
you listed.
up
right?
to 5.
Yeah, we're calling this our fleet incentive program.
This is a fleet incentive
Right, so it's
program.
different from what's being made available to individuals.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All
But an
right.
individual could qualify for $2,500, and then you said there's a low income. There could be like additional money if
That's
you
right.
qualify. So what's the maximum an individual can get?
I think for fleets it's $4,500 as we currently have it, and give me a second, I'll tell you.
Sure.
You guys going to send us a quick news release? So
Yes, we issued a press release, so it's
Oh,
out
did we?
there.
Okay.
We can make sure you get a copy of it. Robert can get that to you if you don't have it. Let me get back to you, Alex, on that.
If it's in the news release,
I think
I'll
it's
be fine.
$4,500, but subject to check.
All right, a couple of questions. First of all, let's take this neighborhood. Again, full disclosure, I'm Ford certified EV sales. I spent really since about 2014-15 selling these vehicles. I own one. How many people in this neighborhood do you think have the smartphone, are banked, have the credit card to actually even use this on an ongoing basis?
Sure. I mean, I'll let you dive into the information to try to find the answer. What we're doing here is we're trying to do the right thing. We're trying to put Rhode Islanders and businesses into electric vehicles, and we're going to see how this program unfolds, particularly for income-eligible Rhode Islanders. And look, if it doesn't work and we don't see the data, then we have the right to adjust the program on
I've never seen
on
a
the
government
fly.
program go away. Let's take to the next step.
Can I
Again,
just ask a real quick question?
Sure, of
before,
course.
Yeah, okay. So how does the rebate work? Like somebody would buy a car at a dealership and they would pay full price and then they would get a check in the mail? How is that?
That's right. So the way we structured it is
Yeah.
there'll be an opportunity for an individual to sort of pre-qualify.
Okay.
So to provide the documentation that we need, and we'll be able to say, hey, everything looks good. If you go ahead within a time certain to purchase or lease a vehicle,
Yeah.
we're going to commit this amount. You qualify for this amount, and so they can go to the dealership, and it has to be a Rhode Island dealership.
Okay.
And this is only for Rhode Island residents.
Dealership, you can't just buy a Prius or whatever from your friend down the street.
Right. Because it'd be difficult for us to.
You talking about fuel cell cars? I mean, what is this a thing now?
That's qualified as well. Yes, actually, there's a fuel cell charging station in Providence. I think
saw it.
hydrogen. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll make those eligible as well, and we're also putting a cap on the amount of the purchase price of a vehicle. If you can afford a $70,000 or $80,000 Tesla, you probably don't need the incentive. So there'll be a cap there as well.
Yeah, because I know, I know I'm getting your way, Pat, but
No, that's okay.
hi, Pat, I'm Mary.
No worries.
So I know, because I've heard criticisms in the past, from various sectors that these rebates, again, like you pointed out, they tend to benefit people of means.
Sure.
And there's an active conversation on Twitter, people saying, well, why not subsidize e-bikes? Because it's it would help people get to work who don't have a lot of money. It's they're, So I think it's a really good question, about the environmental justice, angle.
Sure. Well, our work isn't done. So this is one small step in the right direction, and that's something that we'll take back As you know, the EC4 is responsible for helping the government achieve and helping our community achieve our climate change goals, and particularly the mandated and enforceable GHG reduction targets that were passed last year in the Act on Climate. So we have a lot of work to do, and it doesn't just that work doesn't just exist in the transportation sector. It's the electric and heating sectors too. It's economy-wide.
Right. I mean, one more just quick question. Like, have you done any numbers on how many like tons of carbon, or what? Have you done any numbers on what this particular program will contribute to the overall climate goals of the state?
I don't know. There's a lot of variables in play with a program like this, but we can get you information about carbon reduction associated with electric vehicles in general.
So who do I talk to make sure I get a copy of your news
Follow
release?
up with Robert, and we'll.
Okay, sure. All right.
Okay, so this is not a rhetorical question. Again, I drive one. How is the energy that's developed and designed to feed that, how is that generated?
It's generated from a lot of different sources,
right,
both
mostly,
clean and fossil.
Mostly fossil. And on top of
let me finish, though. Let me finish.
Sure.
As you know, there's a bill in the House and the Senate right now to establish 100% renewable energy standard.
Of course there is. And of course there's no real tangible way to get there. On top of that, what's the half-life of a battery in that car?
I think all vehicles.
No, but what's the half-life specifically?
I like to keep the questions on the program.
I'm on topic. I'm pointing out that there's no
questions.
underlying logic in this, and that while it feels good to do it, God bless you, there's essentially, you're not able to justify the cost. Sure. It's feel good, it's greenwashing, and if that doesn't help people in the community, then what you're doing is diverting money away from the community to be politically, I'm not sure what.
Well, I appreciate your commentary. Thank you.
So, yeah, if you need more questions answered, give me a call.
You haven't answered one of them yet.
Okay. So...
Let's build more government infrastructure to support nonsense.
Yeah.
But again, it'll feel good. How is energy developed? How are you going to make carbon energy go away? You pass laws about it. How are you going to do it?
Like we can talk about this.
No, we're talking about it now because we're on the record and we're live, and my viewers want to understand the underlying logic when you brought the entire Rhode Island government together. I know you don't.
So what we're doing is everyone has said their piece, and that's the statements that we're offering right now.
Okay, and you don't answer any questions.
And
so
we're
you
done.
have no answers.
Right.
It's offensive. It really is. Folks, we're going to have a picture of all the government types. Maybe if they just took some of these salaries and gave it back to the community. On your right shoulder.
Okay. Well, you gotta get the plug. You gotta get the plug, and I'll hold the plug. I got you. Okay.
Let me get one. So you're all looking at me, please. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Yes, my son and his wife just bought a kind of a hybrid strategy for that vehicle.
Plug-in hybrid?
I think it's plug-in, yeah. Plug-in hybrid. Yeah. They bought it too early. They got a rebate.
I know.
Yeah. We're not going backwards on this.
No, not going backwards.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
What you doing okay? Right here.
I'll send you one.
Governor,
Hi, Karen. Good to say hello, Karen.
This is our family.
All right, folks, I think we're going to sign off. We've done enough for today. Oof. If you're listening to this or now in the near future or even down the road, take a moment to like and share our page. This is a story that we're going to be all over. We will be hopefully attending the public hearings. And again, just writing checks, creating programs, hiring people.
We're doing it.
Oh. On days like today, folks, I got to tell you, the sheer futility of this nonsense can be overwhelming. You've got a government that just is shooting in the dark. It's only a couple $1 million. It's a pilot program. If it doesn't work, we'll figure out a different way to waste a couple $1 million. No one's got any answers. They'll talk about it offline. Yet they hold a press conference that's geared towards, I don't know, supposedly answering questions. Well, in the words of Rudy Cheeks, sleep tight, Rhode Island.